You set the budget. You swore this month would be different. And then it wasn't. You're not weak. You're not undisciplined. You're caught in a self-sabotage loop, and the person who designed it is you. Here's how to fire the architect. This disconnect between conscious intention and automatic action is where the loop begins. Consider Maya, a composite figure based on common behavioral patterns. She designs a solid financial plan on Sunday, yet by Friday, a stressful workday triggers a sudden spending decision. This behavior is not a character flaw, and it is not a clinical diagnosis. Instead, financial self-sabotage is a descriptive umbrella for a learned four-part sequence. A trigger prompts a behavior, which provides an immediate emotional reward, despite carrying a long-term financial cost. Breaking this cycle means asking what that quick relief does for us in the moment. These actions often stem from early rules absorbed during childhood. Financial psychologist Brad Klontz categorizes these subconscious beliefs about earning, saving, and security as money scripts, which group into avoidance, worship, status, and vigilance. For some, early family conflict or deprivation forms a template for adult choices. This can lead to financial denial, avoiding bank statements and balances despite knowing exactly what to do. This emotional block differs from a lack of financial knowledge. While sometimes called money trauma, this is a descriptive term for chronic stress responses, not a medical diagnosis. These learned psychological patterns also remain entirely separate from structural realities like low income, debt, and systemic unaffordability. This pattern often begins with a moment of success. Imagine receiving a tax refund, a work bonus, or finally paying off a credit card. Immediately, a wave of relief and safety takes over, signaling that a celebration is deserved. This positive financial trigger prompts a quick discretionary purchase, perhaps a weekend getaway or a new gadget, where the immediate emotional reward of feeling rewarded outweighs a distant savings target. Behavioral finance scholars Hirsch Sheffrin and Richard Thaler explain this through mental accounting. While all dollars are interchangeable, our brains place windfall money into a separate psychological category. Driven by the house money effect and present bias, we treat these unexpected funds as free to spend, temporarily lowering our self-control. Some windfall spending genuinely supports daily well-being or essential needs, meaning it is not a moral failure. But when left unguided, this category shift often displaces long-term goals like emergency savings or future stability. When chronic stress from a layoff, a failing relationship, or a health crisis hits, the loop shifts toward withdrawal. Consider Jordan, who stopped opening his banking app entirely after his company downsized. He had a workable budget, but ignoring the screen offered immediate relief from panic. This intentional avoidance is a form of emotional withdrawal, entirely separate from a lack of financial knowledge. Researchers Senthil Mullainathan and Eldar Shafir show that scarcity narrows our focus, consuming the cognitive bandwidth needed to manage daily decisions. A 2025 Wealth Enhancement Survey found that 44% of respondents avoid checking financial accounts because of stress. This coping mechanism quickly becomes a trap. Dutch researchers tracking households over 22 months found that scarcity predicted later avoidance, and avoidance predicted later scarcity. While fear of bad news or shame can mimic executive dysfunction, there is a distinct difference between being unable to afford a bill and being unable to face its reality. For Jordan, brief emotional quiet ultimately cost $85 in overdraft fees and growing uncertainty. For Sam, a 28-year-old freelance writer, the relief of postponing financial tasks is tied to a calendar date. I will start Monday. I will budget on the first of the month. I will review my debt on payday. This sequence leverages what behavioral scientists call the fresh start effect. Researchers Hengchen Dai, Catherine Milkman, and Jason Reese found that temporal landmarks trigger a powerful motivational surge, yielding a 33% increase in gym attendance after a weekly boundary and nearly 50% after New Year's Day. For Sam, moving the financial task next week offers an immediate reward. A clean slate fantasy of a perfect future self, temporarily shielding him from an imperfect present. But when driven by all-or-nothing thinking, perfectionistic fear, or a fatalistic outlook, this motivation decays. The delayed cost is a missed tax deadline, a $200 penalty, and renewed shame. Monday is a useful landmark, but motivation alone cannot replace a system. Interrupting these loops begins with observation, not judgment. The first step is to notice and name the pattern as it happens. This self-monitoring is not an immediate demand to solve the entire problem, but a tool to create a brief, observable pause. Recording the automatic behavior in neutral language uses a simple frame. When blank happens, I tend to blank because it briefly helps me feel blank. Putting this sequence into words strips away the moral verdict, transforming a painful secret into an objective habit that can finally be changed. The second step identifies the underlying feeling or belief before acting. Before repeating the loop, ask what the brain is seeking: relief, celebration, control, safety, or escape. Complete this simple frame. I feel blank because I believe blank. Common examples include, I will never have enough. I need this to feel better. Or, if I look, I will discover I have failed. This effective labeling treats the belief as useful information rather than absolute final truth. That distinction creates a healthy pause, leaving a full, intentional beat between naming the feeling and choosing the action. Step 3 replaces automatic behavior with one small, concrete action paired with support or friction. To manage windfalls, move funds to separate buckets or use a 24-hour pause. For avoidance, open accounts for 2 minutes or schedule automatic transfers. For procrastination, complete one specific task today instead of waiting. Small actions make threatening tasks small enough to begin. Friction slows impulsive urges, automation removes decisions, and trusted check-ins offer support without shame. This educational protocol does not substitute for therapy, financial counseling, or emergency assistance. But as Maya pauses on Friday, she achieves her first deliberate interruption in the gap between trigger and response. Your financial patterns are coping mechanisms, not character flaws. By replacing shame with curiosity, you rewrite your story starting today. Share your thoughts in the comments below. New sessions Tuesday and Friday. See you in the next one. Subscribe to Finance Physio. Break the chains and embrace a bright financial future.